Hello everyone, welcome back to Tilly Talks Tech, the podcast where we break down big technology, bold ideas, and the amazing people who are literally changing the world with it. My name is Tilly, I am your host, and today's guest has been solving the impossible. Yeah, today's episode is definitely a special one because I'm joined by Mick Ebeling, the founder of Not Impossible Labs, a studio built on one powerful idea: help one person and you might help millions. We're diving into 3D printing, what it really means to make the not impossible possible, and the incredible story behind Project Daniel, where low-cost 3D printed prosthetics transformed lives in Sudan. This guy's been in and around 3D printing since the very, very early days, and he's helped so many people as well, so it's gonna be great to hear directly from the source of somebody who's making the impossible not possible. Wait, no, not impossible. Please welcome to the podcast Mick Ebeling from Not Impossible Labs. Hi Mick, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you feeling today?
I am feeling great. Thanks for having me on, Tilly.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I went and did my research, and like every single project, I swear to God, that I was reading, I was just like, this is epic. You do amazing work. Thank you for what you do. And for people who don't know what that is, could you please tell us a little bit about Not Impossible Labs, like how that even came about and what you guys do?
Not Impossible Labs came about on accident. That's kind of the funny thing about the whole story. My wife and I were about to go out on a date. A friend of ours hijacked our date night, and we ended up going to this fundraiser where we were introduced to a paralyzed graffiti artist named Tony Tempquan. When we sat down with the father and brother, they told us that the way that they communicated was through a letterboard, which is a piece of paper with the alphabet on it. And then his brother would hold it up, run his finger along the letters. And when his finger got to a letter that he wanted, he would blink. And so the concept that there would be first of all, a legendary artist, but just a human who couldn't talk to his family except through a piece of paper, when I knew that there were Stephen Hawking machines and other devices that were out there, didn't make any sense. So I was like, wait a second, that's not cool. Let's do something about it. We built a team. We got everybody, like all these brilliant hackers and makers from around the world. They flew into our house, and we built this thing called the Eyewriter, which is this.
Oh, he's got it.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. It's cheap sunglasses from the Venice Beach Boardwalk. We knocked the lenses out right here. Then we took an old coat hanger. We duct taped it to the side. Then we mounted with just some zip ties and duct tape a web camera. We knocked the guts out and mounted that so that as he would put it on his face like this, he would move his eyes back and forth, and that web camera would track one of the pupils in his eye. And that would then create line structures on the screen. We did it. It worked. It was incredible. Everybody laughed. Everybody cried. We were all going to just go back into our day jobs and just keep on doing what we do. And then all of a sudden we woke up and the thing just blew up, right? It was Time Magazine's top invention, all these awards and accolades. It's now part of the permanent collection at the MoMA. And we were like, what the hell is happening? And then I got an email from the artist, and the email said, that's the first time I've drawn anything for 7 years. I feel like I've been held underwater, and someone finally reached down and pulled my head up so I could take a breath.
Crazy.
And so if you get an email like that, what do? Right? That was the launch of Not Impossible Labs. Now we're talking on your podcast.
Yeah, you are. And like, what the hell? That's such a cool story. And I love that you said it was by accident, because I feel like the most meaningful things kind of do happen like that, because they just like resonate and then bang, like you've changed someone's life, you know? I love the way you have like the prototype and like everything there, and it's like made out of just some like thrown out glasses and things. Sometimes we think, and on this podcast we talk to some like crazy techie geniuses and stuff, but some things literally can be so simple. I have researched Eyewriter, which is an incredible project. We've also got Music Not Impossible, and that lets obviously deaf people experience music, but one project in particular did stand out to me, and that was Project Daniel. Strangely enough, as a double amputee myself, I used to think about the people who had hands like yourself, like your whole life, to all of a sudden be caught up in a dire situation like Daniel was. It's so important that there's something for people to fall back on. Yeah, I was just wondering if you could tell us about Project Daniel in particular, like that whole origin story and why you felt so inclined to help.
We did the Eyewriter, and we were like, it was such a smash success. And then we started looking for other things to do, right? Yeah. And we went out to dinner with a friend of mine, and he told me about this doctor over in the Nuba Mountains, which is the strip of mountains between Sudan and South Sudan, named Dr. Tom Katana. He hated to perform amputations. Like, that was the one thing that he hated. And this guy, Dr. Tom, had to do everything. He's like the only doctor within a 1,500-mile radius.
Right.
And he hated to perform amputations. I'm like, why is he performing amputations? That's kind of weird. And so looking into it, it's because of the civil war over there against the people of the Nuba Mountains. And there was one particular case that Dr. Tom had that was with a young boy named Daniel, who he had to save his life. Daniel was out in the middle of a field, tending his cows, and the bombers came, as they do every single day, and he had no place to hide. So he went and got behind a tree. He wrapped his arms around a tree, and when the bomb went off not far from where he was, because he was behind the tree, his body was protected from the blast, but because he put his arms around the other side, it blew off his arms.
Yeah.
And then his family found him, and they rushed him to Dr. Tom, and Dr. Tom saved his life and stitched him up. But now he lost, one arm above the elbow and one arm below the elbow. This story just grabbed me. And so basically said, I think this is our next project. And so I woke up the next day and told my wife, and she's like, it was funny. She's like, so you're going to invite a bunch of weird people to our house again, aren't you?
That's the impression you got.
And I said, yep, that's what's happening. The whole thing is just a parade of just like ridiculousness. One problem after another problem after another problem. One of our team got thrown in jail for a minute. It was crazy.
Can you talk us through like the R&D process a little bit?
Sure. Premise of the whole thing was that everything was based around fulcrum points, based through the movement of other aspects of the body. So the way that we built the arm is we would make a bicep cuff, and then on the back of that cuff, I was described as guitar strings, but there were strings that would run down. It would go past your elbow, across through your forearm, and then it would feed into the 3D printed fingers, and then there would be knots at the end, and then that would be the tips of the fingers. So you would have strings that would run, these guitar strings that would run from the tips of your fingers all the way down across the wrist, around the elbow, through a little fulcrum point, and then to the final kind of holding spot at the back of the bicep. And the way that it would work would be, if I wanted to pick up this glass, all I would do is I would bend my arm, because when you bend the arm, something has to give. So we hinged the knuckles on the hand, so that when you hinged your elbow and you bent your arm, something gave, and the gave was in the fingers, so your fingers would contract. It's super simple, right? It's super simple after it's figured out, but we ended up finding Daniel. We made an arm for him, and we got to witness him, and it was this day and moment I'll never ever forget. He fed himself for the first time. Our goal was not just to make it so that Daniel could take care of himself and feed himself again, but we could also teach others to make it so that once we left, it wasn't just, Westerners come riding in on their white horses and then doing good and leaving. It was like, how do you empower people to continue the good? And so that's what we did. So we made our way up to Nuba. We worked with Dr. Tom. We taught I think it was about 10 different of the people, kind of local villagers and people that worked in the hospital, to make arms. And then when we turned around and came back, by the time I landed back in Los Angeles, they had already made a couple arms, which was really, really cool.
They could just spin it around like that. You figured it out to the point where you were able to make this like 3D printing HQ like over there and letting people do it. It's crazy. And what is this?
Andre just pointed this out. This is pretty beat up, but this is the original Daniel arm. This is what it looked like. There's the cuff that you would wear around your arm, and then that's where you would anchor the strings. Here's the tube that would take the strings and to the wrist, and then you can see the grooves in the fingers here that run up through here, and you can see the strings up through the fingers, so that when you pull on the strings, they collapse. You can see them. It's a little beat up, but you can see how when I pull it, it collapses.
Yeah. No, I love a good prototype. Don't worry. I have a whole like massive cardboard box full of prototypes that are just falling apart. But you have to keep them to see how far you've gone. Like, so that was like kind of a while ago, like
Yeah.
before the peak of 3D printing. And
It was at the advent of 3D printing. Like this,
yeah.
this is the MakerBot. This is like one of the original MakerBots. This was like at the very, very, very beginning of it.
I was curious to know what you did learn about 3D printing in that process. Like, because I feel like nobody was really using it back in 2013. I guess you saw the potential of it. Like, why did you choose that as the way forward when you're tackling such a elaborate like project? Like, that was bold.
I am still just, I get the best word to be giddy about 3D printing. The process of mass production and having to do injection molds and all of these things, it's so expensive. Like now I can just come up with a harebrained idea, model it. There's modeling software in phones now that you can model it in a phone, dump it over there and hit print and then go away. And now the 3D printers are so stable. Like this thing, I love it, but it's like having the Model T Ford, you know, back when they invented cars. This thing was not stable at all. It would quit, it would overheat, it would fault, it would have all these different things. Now they've removed so much of the errors from these things that when you set something off, you're kind of good to go, right? You don't have to really worry too much.
No, it's come such a long way. Like all these covers behind me, they're all 3D printed.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got like Spider-Man, Iron Man. It's gotten really artsy and creative, which I absolutely love. Particularly in prosthetics, it was like the golden key, do you know what I mean? Did you expect 3D printing to become like such a big deal in orthotics and prosthetics after that project? Are you surprised by how much it is actually used in healthcare?
No, I'm not, because to me, the fact that you can think it and then you can make it and then you can test it, you don't even have to think of yourself as a hacker or a maker. You can just say, hey, I want to do something, and you can make it. And I think that anytime you remove friction from the design process, then you give people and you empower people with access to making something, all of a sudden it's transformative. I feel like 3D printing, especially as it continues to evolve and as prices continue to drop, and I mean, it's Moore's law, technology halves in price and doubles in speed. I love the concept of seeing a problem and solving a problem and not having to ask for permission.
Period. I love that. That's so cool. I was wondering if there was like an anecdote of when you were building something, be it a prosthetic or another prototype, where things like weren't going to plan. Was there any moments like that?
No, every single thing we've done has always succeeded 100% on the first try.
Wow, that's incredible.
Oh my God, that's the biggest lie ever. No, everything we do is like just a parade of failures. We did a whole series on our Instagram about some of our most like illustrious failures. But this is the Eyewriter, right? This is this brilliant device that was super DIY, and we made it for less than $100, and it's a brilliant, right? Do you know what the first version looked like? See how it's got this wire and it comes around and I've got a camera in front of my eye? The first one we made had 2 of them. For us, at the time, that made total sense because we wanted to track the pupils, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's the problem with that? You can't see. Literally, you're making the person using it blind. You've inhibited all of their sight, so they can't actually see what they're doing. And unless there's some type of like, you know, X-Men or X-Woman that has independent control of both of their eyes and they can move them, both eyes are sympathetic. So if you move one, you move the other. So we Tempt, when we first put it on him, he's like, hey, this is awesome, except for A, it's too heavy, and B, I can't see. And we all looked at each other and we're like, oh my God, we're such idiots. Why did we put 2 of them? And so we literally just ripped off the one side and boom, it worked. So the prosthetics, you know, at first we tried different materials, and the functionality was brilliant. It was beautiful, except for it weighed too much. So you'd put it on someone and they were like, oh, and they were falling over to one side, and you're like, they're never going to wear this thing. It's pretty comical how many things that we do in the early stages are quote failures, but we don't see failures as failures. We see failures as just part of the process. And it's just, without those failures, we wouldn't get to our end result and our end product.
precisely like my role in this company now is like, I call it professional guinea pig, because basically they will send me like any sort of upgrade, be it a socket, be it like the fingers or anything, and my role in it is to basically be so brutally honest about what's good, what's bad, like this sucks, this could be better. I'm a huge believer, like I said earlier, in collaboration. Like, it's so important, co-creating and like working with the person that you're creating for. And I was also wondering if you have any anecdotes of, you know, just when somebody you've been helping has helped you.
Every single time that we create something, you mentioned Music Not Impossible earlier, we worked with the deaf. There's a brilliant artist named Mandy Harvey, but she came over early on and she's like, this is great, this is amazing, and what you've forgotten is this. Boom, 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 boom. And we're like, oh my God, we would never have thought of that. That the only reason we can't think about it is because you are deaf. And so we made it and we refined it, and that helped us kind of go to the next level. I think one of the reasons Not Impossible has had so many successes, we don't enter into the process as people who have it all figured out.
Yeah.
We enter into the process with what we call beautiful, limitless naivete. We know that if we can see something with fresh eyes, we might be able to discover that thing that might be complex, that might be simple, that can help transform whatever that problem is.
Definitely like that sort of like growth mindset, just open to being drilled sometimes about the product. You're a motivational speaker, which tracks because you obviously have a great mindset around the whole thing. And I feel like talking to speakers, we all have a sort of like turning moment in our talks which made us sort of think that way most of the time anyway. And so my question to you was whether you can remember a moment in childhood or adulthood or whatever it was where like the word impossible just stopped really being a thing.
I think for me, there's I think two factors or two moments in my past that contributed to who we are now. And that one is one of our mantras that we live by is a mantra called help one, help many, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a very reductive way and an empowering way to see what you can do in the world to make it better. If I say to you, hey, Tilly, let's create a better world, a more accessible world, a more precise and dexterous world for all amputees in the world, you'd be like, woohoo, let's go. And then how do we do that? And you're like, oh, okay, whew, that's big. All right, now we got to sit and think. But if I said, hey, let's do it for this one person who, that live in very rural sub-Saharan Africa, let's just figure out a solution for them. It's reductive and it allows us to see the problem set and solve that particular problem. Well, by nature, solving it for that one particular person inevitably is going to have ramifications on other people as well.
I think there's been a big theme of, being tenacious and things like that, and just not giving up on things. Like, that's a big part of Not Impossible, isn't it? I think everybody's had somebody tell them they can't do something at a point in their life, and I know for me that's definitely like developed more like such a stubborn attitude around it, which thankfully has like assisted me more than hindered me, because I've just been like, what do you mean I can't do that? Coming to the end of the podcast now, I just have a couple of quick fire questions for you, if that's all right. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, so looking forward, because we're all about the future, what do you see as the next like big opportunity where technology can do a lot of meaningful good?
I mean, this is kind of easy, but I think we've just begun to scratch the surface of what AI is going to give us the ability to do. And for me, I'm not scared about AI. I think that society should be no more scared around AI than they were of the printing press or of the horseless carriage or of air flight or space flight or anything like that. Like, change is always scary. But the fact that you can accelerate iteration and you can harness years and years and years of data so that it can give you condensed opinions that you have to still have the human intelligence to interpret and to, modify if it needs it. But the fact that it can bring that all down and you can get it so quickly, I think it's so exciting about what it's going to be able to do for us.
Yeah, super super cool. We talk a lot about that because obviously it's kind of a buzz scary word for a lot of people. But when you hear about all the good it's doing too, that just doesn't get enough airtime. And you're right, like we've gone through so many advancements. Like architects, you know, we used to draw and suddenly it was online and it was crazy. It's one of them, and I feel people who are scared of it, but at the same time, I think we'll be all right.
I think our society, I think our species has lasted through multiple global wars, through the Black Plague,
Yeah.
through floods and fires and everything else. I think we're going to be okay.
We've had some drama. We have indeed. And if the robots are taken over, at least I'm half on that, like the cyborg team. If humans do die. Just kidding. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. Another question I have for you is, you know, for anybody who is currently or in the foreseeable future going to be dealing with a challenge which they deem impossible, what would your advice be to them?
If it's biologically related, you know, sometimes things are out of our control, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but what I would say is that every single thing that surrounds us right now, everything, like right now, look down, look to your left, look to your right. How many different things could you list that at one point were impossible, right? So there's the lights were impossible. There's, of course, the technology, the microphones and the computers and cameras. What about the chair that you're sitting in right now? There was a point in time when chairs didn't exist, right? Until someone's ass hurt and they decided they wanted to make a chair. What about the clothes we're wearing? What about? You could just keep on going. So for us, every single thing that surrounds you right now, if you're listening to this right now and you look around your room, every single thing that surrounds you right now at one point in history was impossible. Period. There's no question. Everything that surrounds us at one point was impossible. Until when? Until someone decided to make it not impossible. Until someone was pissed off or fed up or inconvenienced or whatever it was, something was a motivator that drove them to transition things from impossible to possible, impossible to non-impossible. So if that is history, if that is data, if that is science, if that is fact, then what would make us right now as humans, when we encounter things that are difficult, that are challenging, that are seemingly insurmountable, why would we label something as impossible? All it is not feasible right now, but someone's going to solve it. Someone's going to figure it out. Someone is eventually going to have that breakthrough. So when you see it in that light, all of a sudden it changes your perspective, because now you see the world as infinite possibility. Doesn't make it less challenging, doesn't make it less easy, but it is possible. And so that for us is this guiding point and this guiding motivator, that it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And our question for us is, well, if not now, when? And if not us, then who? So we might as well be the people that transition it from impossible to possible.
Yeah, for sure. And on that note, this is my last question, which might be a little bit cheeky, I don't know. But I was wondering if we're allowed to know any 2026 plans. Like, we're in a new year. Are we allowed to know what Not Impossible Labs are going to be working on next or thinking about? Yes.
I will tell you right now, one of my obsessions, actually I have a lot of them, but two of them are within the space of neuroplasticity and the ability for the brain to be able to adapt and modify how it interacts with, and I will say, appendages or feelings or sensations. So we're going to continue to double down within that space. Sounds funny to say, but I'm so inspired and motivated by the fact that we have tapped so little of our brains, and that if we can just tap a little bit more, what could potentially be possible. So that's a big focus for us in 2026, especially in the space of innovation and what can happen there. And then the second is robotics.
What?
Yeah, robotics right now for us is something that there are it is like the volcano is erupting with robotics right now, but it doesn't feel like there is a Sherpa. It doesn't feel like that there is someone or something to guide you in the path of robotics, because a lot of people are just making robots and going, here, figure it out. And so we are really passionate about playing the role of Sherpa and modifier and adapter and hacker within the space of robotics to make it do hyper-functional things within the space of good and also in the space of industry.
I thought you were going to say in the space of bad. I was like, oh God, we've got a villain on the podcast. Oh my God. No, thank you so much. So fun talking to you, honestly. Thank you for taking the time. And yeah, this is the part where I'm going to plug everything you have. So if there's anywhere that you want people to follow you, get your book, where can we find you across socials or your website?
Just at Not Impossible, at Not Imposs. In your platform of search of choice is where you can find us. All the things that we're doing, all the things that we're working on, and all the things that we really feel strongly and believe in.
Perfect. And everybody listening should definitely go and do that. Thank you so much, Mick. It's been awesome. And I wish you all the best. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, that was so cool. What an inspiring, like, motivating guy. Seriously. I really hope to work with them in the future. Like, how cool would that be? You didn't see that because I ended the meeting, but we were talking about potentially working together on some other awesome projects. Like, I'd love to be a part of that. Go Mick. Oh my God, you must follow them to see what happens next. Please do check them out and stay up to date. If you did enjoy this episode, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with a friend. Let me know who else you want to get on the podcast. You can also follow me at tilly.lucky on all socials. And yeah, I will see you next time. Bye.